Hey guys, welcome back. I'm the alien goddess. So, oh boy. um, whether or not I put this in private or in public remains to be seen. I have had an interesting, very, very interesting couple of weeks. And I can't quite explain it, but it's been very powerful. There's been like a shift, and like this, I believe, maybe not to like the amount of clarity and perception that I have grown over the years, maybe making me perceive this as stronger or more intense, but you know how I pattern detect, and throughout my life there gets a point where certain things happen as you're going through uncovering basically what I coin as just trying to get to like base reality, like the absolute truth of existence, of things, of all of it. And you know, you dig down so far and you uncover so much, and as a human in a body with a brain, we naturally have like biases, but there's these like reset points that happen. I don't know how to explain it. It literally feels like when you talk about going through certain gates, and it's like the initiation gates, and once you get through those gates, by the time you're at that gate, this is what we also call shifting, transitioning. I don't have the words. But when you get through those gates, it literally, there's this 0 point thing that happens. And when it brings you back to a 0 point spot, it's like once you're through that gate, everything before that gate kind of consolidates, and it's like a cycle, like it all wraps up and it minimizes down to like one thing that's like the root. So we've broken down the whole plant back down to the root, and let's just like say like each one of these gates are like trees, right, or plants, and you break down the entire plant, and then until you're left with like, now we're at the root of it, you know, the molecules, the DNA of it, right? And there's like one thing left, but the whole tree has been dissolved, right? Informationally. I just went through one of those gates. Like, let's just say that. Plasma. Okay. This is where I'm at after walking through a gate. I realized that I had biases and stuff that I was even like subconsciously holding on to, and those were ripped away. It's so funny that we literally just had the eclipse yesterday. I have been through about a 6-week period of whether, you know, and the way that the divine matrix works and how it lines up, I can't even begin to explain, but physically I was going through this change, and my thyroid medication, and then also it just so happened that one of the side effects that was really severe and I was experiencing was about 6 weeks of not being able to sleep, waking up around 2:20, 3 a.m. every single night, having to go back to bed, or automatically getting thrown into like nightmares, every time REM hit, not being able to finish REM. And like all of this for about 6 weeks. I'd just be going back and forth. So some nights would be good, but there'd be like 4 intense nights, and then I'd have 2 or 3 good nights, and working that out. But what I found is when I could return after I got woke up and from the REM cycle and having to get back into it, there was one night, I will say, I don't know how to explain this. I just feel like I've had experiences with plasma, really powerful ones, at like really powerful points in my life. And this is probably going to be a long video because finding the words for this. But anyways, through that experience, sleep being disrupted, basically just what it is, and like plasmoids like show up on my videos all the time. I have not been outside with a video camera since that one showed up that looked like a dinosaur or a dog or something was coming out of it. I'm not gonna lie, that freaked me out. Okay, that freaked me out a little bit. It was like right next to my feet on the ground, and it hung out with me, and the shape that it made, I was just like, why does it look like a freaking dinosaur, like a raptor? I don't know, right? But that one freaked me out. But I don't know if it's because I have a dense basal ganglia, which science is starting to uncover that people that can perceive through this ordinary veil and kind of have this experience with these otherworldly things have neuron dense basal ganglia, in your brain. And we're just wired that way. But plasma definitely coming to the forefront now after doing all of the UFOs, all the ETs. Let me just say though, the weirdest thing about these transitions or gates, it literally feels like when you graduate and that door completely closes and then you're in a whole nother space, but like whatever you were supposed to focus on is like condensed down to like the only thing. And I don't understand how this works, but like going through all of these cycles, right? And like one door closes, but for me, it literally feels like all the knowledge and everything that was understood and learned, it's not confusing. It all comes to like a point like where your slate just gets wiped clean again. You're literally put back in a non-biased place, basically like on purpose, outside of your control on purpose. All your biases are wiped away and you're just left with one focus. That's it. But everything else is sort of just, you don't have questions anymore. You don't feel the, like, it's done, it's completed. I don't know how to explain this, but anyways, that's how it feels. And I have been having really intense experiences with plasma. And because I found The Science of Heaven, that book that I showed in my other video, and coming back to that and other people that are like digging into this plasma thing, and that this plasma thing is like more of like the root underneath the UFO UAP type stuff. Like this plasma might be like the core or a core aspect beyond that part of it. so I'm just gonna, say it. So at one point, a long time ago, I was literally, my daughter is 14. So she was like 6 or 5, and I was in this nasty, no, she was a little younger than that. So a good 10 years ago, give or take. I was in this nasty divorce case, and I thought at the time, because I was just going on my spiritual awakening, like I wanted to understand these things that I seen and sensed and felt my whole life, and it led me down like a whole, lifetime rabbit hole upon rabbit hole upon rabbit holes, a lifetime journey. But when I walked in to the court that day, something very powerful happened. One, my attorney decided he didn't want to show up because he had a more high profile case somewhere else that he chose to take. So all of a sudden I was forced into being my own attorney and defending myself against like a 20-year seasoned attorney. Spoiler alert, I won. Okay, but I'm pretty freaking sharp when I need to be. I'm pretty freaking intelligent. As intuitive and whatever I am, I do have pretty high intelligence enough to, when I need to dig in and bring it out, I can. But what the very first thing I seen was walking into the courtroom. I didn't even know that I was going to have to be in the position of being my own attorney, which, if you know about symbolisms and courtrooms and all of this stuff, which literally I got to cross the bar, which, and go up and speak with the judge, and I became in a weird way, that my attorney not showing up, I got bestowed the power to represent myself and basically act as my own attorney, which was this crazy initiation experience. But the symbolism and the energy and the everything that really, really, really creates up reality, after I've been down this rabbit hole and looking back at this experience, I realized that was like a very I had no idea what I was actually being initiated and stepping into at that point. And I just dug in and dug out my true soul from this human body and just let it burn as brightly as I could, because I was terrified. I was basically, I'm not going into the details, but I was basically being accused of terrible things. I was sort of on trial for witchcraft, in a weird way. It was a very weird situation. But before any of this laid out, I'm walking into the courthouse, and the only words I have for this was like angels. Okay, so I'm looking up at the judge, and the room is really tall. The courtroom's very, very tall. And all I can see on both sides, there was like 4 of them, or there was like 8 of them. And I've always been able to perceive things. Like, I don't know if it's the dense basal ganglia thing going online. All I remember is I look up, I don't even know what I'm getting ready to be stepping into. And I just see these columns of light that were like as tall, but these weren't luminescent light. This was like transparent, like the pinks and the blue, like just like super tall columns of like colored light. And I know I'm the only one that can, you know, pretty much perceive this. And I look over and I tell my mom, I'm like, there are angels in this room right now. I'm going to win this thing. And I did. And these columns of light, okay, I've been sort of stalked by them because they've been showing up in my bedroom. Too, and I've been having like these plasmoids experiences, like them coming out of my mouth, outside. But this was so long. This was like my first experience of, the only words I had were there were angels. Like my angels were here. And I look up and I just see these, and I can't even tell if it looked like they stopped at the ceiling. It almost looked like they just like went, they were huge columns of light, and there was the judge in the center and all of these columns of light, and I could just see them. And then the more, because my anxiety's rushing, I'm freaking terrified. I literally, if you hear me talk about it in the past, I literally left my soul on that fucking courtroom floor. Like, it took everything. I had to cross witness people that literally would like wanted me dead. Like it was insane. And I had to outwit them. Their attorney tried to trick me with words, and I had to be fast enough to catch it. I can't explain to you what the fuck happened, okay? But I literally came up against every opposition I could, but the minute I looked up and I seen these opaque columns of light that had these gorgeous like colors reflecting off of them or in them, and I could feel them, and I just knew like, I'm protected. Like, I'm gonna win this thing. No one's taking my kid from me. Like, I am not in the wrong. I have divine authority backing me up or something. I don't know what it was. But I did. I ended up winning that case. I literally walked into my attorney's office after the court case, and he was in a meeting and he was busy, but then the other attorney that was a female there brought me into the room and was like hugging me, like, oh my God, you did it. How did you even do this? That was a freaking miracle. That was incredible. Like, and I'm like a shattered person at this point, because the fact that these allegations that I had to dispute that were coming against me, and the fact that at this point, this is what caused me to shut down, because they were going to drag my YouTube channel, which I was doing my spiritual exploration. I was learning about meditation. I was learning about ascended masters, angels, witchcraft, everything. I was just at the very beginning. Mind you, I'm a baby. I'm like 18, 19 years old. Like 19. So I was 19 when I had her. So I'm 19 years old. I can't even drink yet. And I just became an unofficial attorney. And when I tell you the obstacles that were trying to come against me, like, these people played dirty. I had to get dirty PREs thrown out of my case because they weren't even being non-biased. Like, they were totally biased. They were like this was the most disgusting, dirty, low down practice of law that I had to literally dismantle as a little 19-year-old who's just barely who still has like an eating disorder going on to some degree, like still trying to heal from this traumatic childhood. Like, can you imagine? But no matter what, like, I was being the absolute best parent, and my daughter was not in any danger like they were assuming or anything like that. They were just making shit up. And I literally had my ex-husband's wife stalk my YouTube channels and like record shit that I would say. And back when, this is what, 2011, 2010, okay? So this is back when YouTube was just a baby, and spiritual concepts and like where the world is today and where the world was back then as far as being awake and asleep is like night and day. Like the amount of knowledge and the topics that are being discussed just make my heart so happy, because back then during this YouTube channel, I was one of the first people that was talking about these spiritual concepts and saying, yes, I've had these gifts my whole life. And it was back when YouTube, I only needed 300 people and you were already monetized. So just think about the implications of this. This thing that I started, like I basically got in on the ground floor of Google, and I had to decide between ground floor level of Google and the future fortune it would have probably bring, and what was most important to me, my child. And I didn't even think twice. I cried a bunch and I deleted it. It was supposed to be a safe space for me to explore my spirituality and connect with like-minded people and find other psionics. That's the word I'm terming. And I was brought up against the most treacherous, freaking terrible circumstances, but at the same time, the fact that it turned out to be a blessing that my attorney stepped down and I was literally initiated energetically and spiritually in that moment to act as an attorney for myself and to be involved in the ceremony that is court and cross the bar. And if you know anything about land and water and the bar and how dead men don't speak, and that's why you can't speak in a courtroom unless you are brought up on a stand type thing. And in a way, there's a resurrection ritual that happens inside a courtroom that normal public has no idea about, is that when you are given a chance to like speak and represent yourself in a way you're not considered to be dead anymore. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I don't know. So it was a very powerful experience, and all I seen were like these, I shit you not, I don't know how tall they were. I don't even know how tall the ceilings were. This was a huge room. The ceilings were probably, I don't know, 40 feet, 50 feet tall. Like, I'm not even joking you. Huge. And these columns of light were like going from the very top to the bottom. They were a couple of feet wide. They looked like sheets, but they could have been, you know, like cylindrical, because, you know, I'm busy at this point. I just found out that everything that I have writing on this is gonna come up back to me and what the fuck I'm made of. And I showed them what the fuck I'm made of, okay? Okay. And and that I feel like was a huge initiation and test, because I deleted my channel not because I was afraid of what they would say or do and I couldn't pick it apart, was because my channel was there. It was like my safe place to express spiritually and learn and express psionically. And when they wanted to drag it into this, I did not. And I was actually, when I had to be cross-witnessed myself or whatever, and their attorney went after me, I had to explain that I was a 19-year-old kid wanting to know spiritual concepts about angels or energy or whatever, and I literally had to get grilled on my spiritual like beliefs, which shouldn't happen in this day and age, but it did. So I'm telling you, in the course of a couple hours, I got brought into this weird authority position. I got grilled I had been getting hammered back and forth and having to find like deceit, snakes in the grass for months or a year leading up to this court date. My attorney, after everything, the day I was supposed to be in court, doesn't show up. Like, and I can just see these huge columns. And I told my mom, I'm like, there's angels in the room. Like, I didn't have any other term for it. And they were huge columns of light. And I could feel them, like, radiating, like, towards me, like, supporting me. Like, we are here for you. Like, we're gonna help hold you up. Because I was literally, it felt like being crucified, like literally getting drugged through the ringer, having to be on a witch trial, having to be my own attorney, being this 19-year-old kid and having no law background whatsoever, having to catch misuses of words and twists and turns. And I fucking won. After, and this was thousands and thousands. I literally went broke. My mom went broke. Everyone went broke trying to pay for this attorney. And then at the end of the day, just having to like, but I was in so much shock, and I was in so much spiritual turmoil and so much energetic, I don't know what the fuck just happened to me, that it like shattered me. Like, I couldn't even think about anything spiritual. And then finally, every time I would decide to start my channel again, you know, I would have, even after the court case, I would have this stalker that would come on my channel and stalk my channel and try to twist my shit, and then literally go to my baby daughter and show her clips of my channel and say, mommy's a witch, mommy's demonic, mommy's evil, you don't want to be with mommy. I literally had this bitch brainwash my kid against me forever. Okay, like I could barely, like, it was crazy. Whenever she was with her dad, and she wasn't really with her dad, she was with this person, and every time, the couple attempts that I'm like, no, like, because I can't tell you the feeling I get, I don't understand it, but every time well, I guess I can kind of explain it. I'm like a hermit. I'm like an introverted person. And I'm surrounded. I've never been surrounded by people that can like mentally keep up with my rabbit holes and like the depth and the understanding and the psionic ability of my brain. So I've always felt alone no matter what crowd I'm in. So when I make my videos, for years, my whole thing was like trying to reach out to like-minded people. Now it just became an outlet because I have to get it out of my brain and finish that completion loop and just get it out of the way. So then, because there's more things, like there's still things that I'm brewing on that are still kind of coming into form. There's new experiences I have. And like I said, I'm a bottom-up experiencer. I just run into these things and have to fucking figure it out, okay? Like, that's just the raw truth of it. I just have these experiences, and then I have to find the language, and I have to understand what the heck, like, I have to try to understand logically and grammatically, like, have the language, have the understanding or grammatically, know what the hell's going on, okay? Also, I'm also super grateful. So, yeah, so I lost my chance to be on the ground floor of Google and what would have came of my channel, because it would have been one of the first spiritual channels that covered like psionics and ESP and experiences and just sharing. And my very first video is ADHD and connecting to other dimensions. And I was exploring like the monatomic gold theory at the time, and the energy that I was getting from it was not good. And I still don't get a very good feeling about, ingesting monatomic gold. But I'm just saying, like, stuff like this. And, yeah. And then every attempt I tried to make to have a spiritual outlet after that would be literally turned against me to hurt my daughter, and I could not have that, okay? And life was just going through ups and downs and twists and turns, and there's always been like this divine hand. Also, what you don't know is that when I was a teenager and a young adult, I was getting recruited into like modeling agencies, and I had a chance to be flown out to Hollywood as an extra in like these big up and coming movies, and I chose my family, thank goodness. But now, learning what I know about Hollywood, I very well, if I didn't have like these divine I very well could have been in a very, very, like, extremely bad place if I would have chose to pursue my career over being a mom. So every time I've chose being a mom over, so I haven't had this opportunity once, I've had this opportunity multiple times in my life to make a ton of money versus what's good for my kids, and I always choose my kids. And who knows where I would have end up. Like, this was back when all of this, like, Epstein and his freaking modeling agencies, like Elite Model and stuff like that, like, those were words like being thrown around. Like, those were like, we filled out like online portfolios and had like our pictures and stuff, and I'm just saying, like, very, very likely could have ended up in a very sketchy, really, really fucked up situation. Thank goodness that there's always been like this internal, and it doesn't come from outside of me. What this divine, there's just always been like this internal my core, which my core is my kids are my life, my family that I've built, probably because I was an abuse child and I had, from my most formidable years, that's why I have nightmares when my anxiety spikes in the middle of the night, because I have a trauma imprint from like kindergarten to 13 was nothing but physical, mental, sexual abuse. And my body literally grew up in fear and in trauma. So that's probably why I'm like, I'm going to give my kids the best life. I'm going to keep them as safe as I can. And even at times when I was struggling, like with eating disorders, or I was falling down, or I was trying to do the right thing and I just couldn't stretch myself any thinner to try to do all of these things that a single parent has to do, I still had this beautiful protection energy that would come in and keep everyone safe, would keep everyone going on the right path. Like, so there was this divine matrix outside experience. But the whole reason, even in my adulthood, having to, it's never a question. I don't care how many millions and millions and millions of dollars are on the table, billions if it would have been YouTube. If it comes down to that, my family, I'm picking my family. Nothing's more important to me. Okay? And I wasn't even supposed to be able to have kids, let alone 3 of them, because of all of the terrible damage I did. And my first 2 babies, literally getting pregnant with them saved my life, because I got pregnant when I was like at the very bottom of the drain of eating disorders and on my ADHD pills. And having to come off of it and having to eat for my babies. Yeah, being able to nourish my body and my brain again, and also take care of them, was like the best thing that could have happened to me. But my thing is, I've had this connection with this plasma, and when I'm looking outside, I can see like ripples of like white, I don't know, I call them particles, like the particles in the air. Like I can see them sometimes, all of the time, like it's natural. But when I walked into that courtroom in the beginning of this crazy long journey, and I looked up and seen those columns of gorgeous, I'm telling you, this courtroom was like brown and black and like off-white. There was no colors, and these huge, couple feet wide, I don't even know how far back they went, huge, like 50-foot fucking columns of light, multiple of them. There was colors coming off of them, like pink, blue, like a rainbow, like a pearlescent rainbow. Like, what the fuck? Like, it was insane. And so plasma. So I've had this crazy reset. I also got very upset about the state of the world, but and I once again reached out to the divine presence in the universe and said, this is too big and dark. We need help on certain subjects here. Like humans, institutions, governments, they can't even touch this. Like, we need help. And I had like this, and I'm still very much, I think that's why I like shut down, you know, and just sort of had this crazy reset. But like plasma every single night until I tell it like, please go away. And then it doesn't, it just tones down the intensity. But I will be in my bed, and all of a sudden there's these huge columns of light, or like these squares that just show up, and they're that off-white color, and you can just feel the energy pouring off of them. And all of a sudden, like, structures just start appearing, big columns like on each side of the room or across it's just crazy. Okay, and then having like the plasmoids that show up in my videos and stuff like that. And then I even Nicaea or niece, I literally heard the word niece. I literally like communicated with one night, and because I heard like this, I got like this telepathic boom. But the thing is, I have this connection with plasma. I can see plasma, I can experience it. I can go out and stand there, and plasmoids start popping off around me, above me, near my feet. Okay, so obviously I have this plasma connection, and looking back, that was the first time. I had no other words for it. It was angels. But now, and then even in the book, The Science of Heaven, he talks about these columns, and I'm like, that's exactly, I thought my brain was just like playing tricks on me, but that's exactly what it looks like. Is all of a sudden these couple feet wide like sheets of light just start to come, like appear, like illuminate the ceiling, through the ceiling, the floor, in your room. Like, I don't even know, I don't have words. Like, I'm just like, what the fuck? And they have a presence, because they give me anxiety, because I'm not alone in the room when these shapes start coming like up and out and start animating. And then I've even had like those crazy orbs, like the black orb with the like spider legs. I drew a picture of it. That didn't even give me a feeling. But these columns of light that show up in my room freaking make me nervous, because they're just so powerful and present. And I'm like, I can't sleep. I literally feel like someone's literally standing there watching me freaking sleep. like it's very, very difficult, or I'm just aware of it, and they've sort of desensitized me to it by now, because I'm like, okay, this is just happening so often. And then I even had a conversation, I'm like, what the fuck do you want? Like, I was pissed. I'm like, why are you showing up? What are you? And yeah, she gave me some insane words, like post something, PR, OC, activation protocol. Just crazy. I literally have to like go to AI and be like, what does this mean? And she said, and it was a female. This one was like distinctly female, like in the voice. And yeah, like she said, like, this column was saying that its name was Nice, like Nicaea, like Greece, like Nicaea, like Greece, or Nike. She like so it breaks down all the definitions for Nice, but then it was like it was Nice was the acronym for what she was, and it was just like insane. Okay, you can't make this shit up. So yeah, so I'm just gonna keep deep diving plasma after my gateway process videos, after all of my I literally have no more biases. I don't think these things are good. I don't think these things are bad. I just have zero I don't know. Every experience, every experiment, and like quote unquote visitation abduction experience, I always thought it was positive, but I am just completely at zero. Like I said, my slate has been wiped clean all the way back to zero. Like, I'm not sure, okay? I'm not sure. I don't know. But one thing that got solved for me is that this is real, beyond a shadow of a doubt. This is real, and it's gonna continue to evolve, escalate, come to the surface, be whatever it is. And there may be agendas behind the whole ETs and UFOs things. Like, there's a reason that they're coming to the surface right now. I don't know. But I was feeling essentially positive. Now I'm actually just neutral. But I can't deny the fact that this plasma stuff likes me, is connected to me. I can perceive it. I've had experiences with it. And that's a fact. So, I'm going to continue to just deep dive plasma and hearing about the Corelesti clouds on each side of the moon. I've had, like, in meditations, there's this, like I said, this cross between technological and conscious, like sentient, like conscious, like almost like technological, biological cross, even though we're talking biology on like a whole different scale that's connected with the moon and like on other, like certain planets, right? And I've seen it as like this divine mind. And then like these Corelesti plasma clouds, and this might be, I might have like this weird, like a different life connection with plasma. I don't know. Like maybe like ectoplasma as like a medium or something. I don't know. Like, and maybe that's why I've had this connection, because like I do feel like once you've connected with plasma, and it on a soul level, not this physical container you're seeing, but the plasma that I am as a soul, once you have that connection, it never goes away. I don't think it ever goes away. I think you're always sort of tuned into that world, and that veil is very thin for you, even when you're in a body. But yeah, so all of it wiped clean, 0 point, no more biases, not thinking it's good or bad, have 0 opinions. All I'm just basing this off of is facts and experiences and then facts, because I always have the experience and then I need to find the facts. And just seeing how that was the very first time I think really seriously with my physical eyes plasma showed up for me was in that court case. And all I had the words for at the time, I'm like, they gotta be angelic. Like, they gotta be angelic. They gotta be angels. I don't know. Like, did they come across in any? No, they were huge tubes, sheets of colorful light. That's it. And they were up against the wall. They were behind the judge. So the judge was up at her desk and the wall right directly behind her. Huge, like 50-foot columns. And the ones that I see in my room all the time. All the freaking time. Or like the weird little plasmoid that kind of like popped in across like my ceiling. So I can't deny that I have a connection with this. I am just going to the core of this because I think if we understand plasma, we're sort of getting to like beyond the UFOs, beyond the UAPs. We're sort of getting to like the root. And the fact that we have these 2 huge coalescing clouds on each side of the moon that are like these massive plasma clouds that are like supposedly intelligent, maybe sentient, maybe like the divine brain of this matrix, like the left and right hemispheres. That's why there's 2 of them. And maybe that could be what I've seen connecting to like the divine mind. Maybe it's coming from these coalescing clouds, or like having plasma, and then understanding how like in our physical body, like I can be sitting here, I will put like a brightness filter to brighten everything up, and then all of a sudden you just start seeing plasmoids like coming out of my body, shooting across the bottom of my legs. Like, am I generating them, or is my field sort of unveiling their field? I just seen like a huge circle. Do you see that? All of a sudden, it just became very aware to me. There's this huge circle that doesn't make sense because my ceiling, I don't know. That's crazy. All of a sudden, it just became a perfect circle to me in my brain. But yeah, so this video is just this long rant on how I've had another, and this has happened to me a couple of times. I get to certain subjects and all of a sudden it's just like my board is erased and like one thing is left. Or like all of the information and research boils down to one conclusion, and then that sets you on this new path, right? So I can't tell you. And and the fact that I have had opportunities in this life that most people would never get, okay? And I've always chosen what I feel is right, which is like the most important thing to me. And I have had protection from things when I was literally before my kids' teenage, coming off of abuse and eating disorder, downward spiral. I just wanted to party until I was dead, and I didn't care where I was partying, I didn't care who I was partying with, and I put myself in some strange situations. I always ended up completely safe and sound, taken care of, nothing sketchy happened, and I usually ended up drunk, dying on the floor because my body couldn't even stand, let alone process alcohol. But I was always safe and sound and taken care of in a way that I can't explain. But like the shit that I got into and was always safe just partying, but being half dead. So always being way too drunk to literally have any actual control over my body, and having to rely on the goodness in people. For some reason, I always found the goodness in people, not the... And coming from where I came from, which was like as an innocent young kid that didn't even have any knowledge or know better or anything, and being exposed to these things, like the darkness in people, the evil in people, I don't even like using those words, the corruption, I don't know, the bad, I hate all those words, but it's true. I don't want to use darkness, because darkness doesn't necessarily mean evil, but evil. And I'm not talking from a religious standpoint, I'm just saying the best word I can describe it is the evil inside of a human spirit. Being exposed to all kinds of gamut of that as a kid. But as soon as I became a quote unquote like teenage, or around 18, so young adult, brand new adult, I've always been protected and guided and had these amazing opportunities and always had the choice. And I feel like I've always chose what matters most to me, which is my kids and my home and my life. And it's always kept me safe. Because it's like all of those money experiences, can't speak for YouTube, but the other two opportunities that I've had, the money comes with a cost, bro. Like, that's all I gotta say. Is like, it could have been an Epstein type situation with a modeling agency. Being an extra would have put me in that sphere of perverts in Hollywood. I would have been right there in it if I would have taken the deal. And I had a manager, a modeling manager and stuff like that. Or yeah, the money would have led down a terrible dark path, and for some reason, and it didn't matter, because the more you say no, the more they throw at you, the more they want you. So it didn't matter how much they were throwing at me. I'm like, no, nope. And even when you have to think about it, because it's that life-changing and it's that much in these two different opportunities, and you really, really have to think, and it's very, very tempting, because you could set your family up, which would be the only reason I would do anything, for the rest of their lives. But what is it going to cost me spiritually, energetically? And how am I going to be around to take care of my family? Like, the first rule of being a good mom is you have to take care of yourself first. Like, you have to make sure you're spiritually, emotionally, because your kids, they can sense you, like you, like their nervous system and your nervous system, they rely on you to like tell you that they're safe, and even shit you're not saying, they can feel. So like the fact that, yeah, anyways, so my life has had crazy like ups and downs and ups and opportunities. And through it all, I have had this internal guidance system of just the love. And then think about this. If I wouldn't have went through all of that tragic trauma, nasty bullshit I went through as a kid, would I have been such a dedicated mom and been there for my kids because I'm literally not doing the opposite of what happened to me? Or would I have taken these deals and the money thinking I'm doing great for my kids, and I would have just ruined my kids' lives because I ruined my life even though I got really rich? Or, yeah, see? Isn't that crazy? So it gives you like a different way of thinking about things, and it just gets wild when you think about it. Because I don't know who I would be. But I think that if those opportunities would have been presented to me and I had like a stable, happy household, I would have just been innocent and seen it as an adventure, and would have gotten really, really fucked up mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. And then who even knows if I would have ended up having my kids? Like, who knows, okay? But the path that I am on, and all of the yeses and all the choice points, this is why it's so powerful looking back, right? And I'm like almost, I don't know, I'm like 34, I think. Yeah. In human years, even though age is, we're not going there. In this human body, I'm 34. And looking back at everything, and then I did the other night during this eclipse, after I had this crazy little nightmare, and it wasn't really a nightmare, it's like all of a sudden my anxiety spikes and it triggers my underlying, because my nervous system, you have to remember, grew up in trauma. So when my nervous system gets activated like it's supposed to, because I'm literally getting the metabolic support now from my medicine that my body hasn't had, so it's actually getting something it really needs, but when it's getting it and it's becoming activated, and my nervous system overcompensated for years for my thyroid, for like who knows how long. And as a kid, I was literally immune deficient. Like, so my immune system was actually like underactive as a child. So I was sick all the time. And I guess you find that when your immune system's underactive as a child, it's hyperactive as an adult. It like overcompensates. But yeah, looking back at everything and how there's this weird, I don't know how to explain this. It literally feels like you step through a door and everything that led you to that door disappears except for one condensed down variable. But it's like all the emotional charge is gone. I'll have to ask AI if there's a word for this. Like, you're non-biased anymore. Like, you're literally like very neutral. Like, all of the experiences that, and I've had insane experiences. I was super biased now looking back at it. But it's like all that's just gone. Okay. And the only thing I'm left with is just being in this strange alignment of clarity, of peace, of like zero, like blank slate, and then one word: plasma. I mean, and blame it on the eclipse, like blame it on the weird medication adjustment symptoms waking me up every single day. It's like at 3 o'clock, 3:30, or right before 3 a.m. for weeks straight, and sometimes with no nightmares, just like this cold sweats and anxiety spike because my system gets activated like it's supposed to, but then I have that underlying trauma imprint that also gets activated, which the fight or flight feeling, because my body was in it for so long, immediately feels like a threat, feels like fear. So when you're like sucked deep into REM sleep, what happens? Fear just starts coming up in your dreams, and then you're just and then I'm literally like, wake up, I'm like shaking myself awake and coming out of this. But yeah, and to this day, as a grown-ass woman, I am still afraid of the dark, okay? I've had some intense, creepy, crazy shit that I can't even remember, that when I was in therapy for getting over this trauma and stuff, that my therapist looked at me and she's like, I'm a big advocate of, if some doors are sealed, it's better, and if it's not bothering you, if it's not affecting your quality of life, leave them babies shut. We don't need to be digging up old skeletons. Let them rest if they're not. So I literally, because that was the thing, is that I had so much missing time, like missing memory, like my whole childhood. I can only tell you the extreme handful of experiences, and then everything else was blank. I just disassociated all of it. So then over the years, as an adult, doing shadow work, working with a therapist, all of this, if I'm working through something, like when I was doing my shadow work, which I took myself through for like 15 years of my path was mostly shadow work. If I have, sometimes you have repressed things come up and come to the surface, and you have to deal with them, whether they come up in a dream, whether it's a word or a phrase, whether it's an action that happens that like triggers your memory, because your body feels it first, and then your memory goes, oh my God, and then your brain sort of fights against itself, like it wants to keep the door closed, but the door's been cracked, right? So yeah, like my case was pretty extreme, because I have like no memory, like a huge, most of my childhood, unless it was like the ET abduction, which I remember that clearly. It's fucking crazy, which is weird how I remember it, because I was literally asleep, so my consciousness remembers it. I don't know. Or I wasn't asleep. I was sleepwalking, whatever that means. I don't know how to break it down, but yeah, going through all of this, and then all of a sudden just coming to this point in my life where I'm like looking back, and then I had like this weird review process, literally like the night of the eclipse. So I woke up and I went back to sleep, and after the bad dream and I woke up and went back to sleep, I had this most intense, vivid, like dreamlike experience where I just showed up in this void place, and like all of my dogs that I've lost and that have passed away showed up, and I went through this strange like life review, like weighing my heart against a feather type situation. And like this strange life review moment. It was weird. And then but I was judging myself, like there was another presence there, but mostly it was me judging me. Like there was no other judge. Like I was the one that seen and felt all the situations and decided that how I acted, the choices I made, I was cool with, like I was at peace with. And then there was a strange moment where I was literally crowned by Aries, which makes sense. I think astrologically this was showing up because I'm a Capricorn sun in the Western system, and Mars is my ruler, and with all these planets moving into Aries, I don't know, but it was like the horns. So, but I knew in the dream that it was talking about like my planets, like planetary, like something planetary was happening, like divinely, like destiny, like I don't know how to explain it. But then in the dream, after I judged myself and my heart was lighter than this feather and I was cool with my actions, and I don't know why I came to a point where I was literally like life reviewing myself, but it was so vivid, so real, like I cannot explain to you. Like I was lucid in this dream, like it was so real. Like my dreams have never had the realistic feel that this did. Like it was crazy. I was like there, like this was actually happening. I was giving myself a life review. Well, also there was this like deity thing. I couldn't tell if it was like Anubis or Mot or whatever, but it was some sort of like justice, intelligence, consciousness. But the thing is, they didn't judge me, I judged myself. They just helped project all of these scenes in my life that I may have been struggling with consciously, and let me reflect and been like, no, I would make that same choice over and over and over and over and over again, so I'm cool with it. And then it goes to this part of the dream that the life review thing's all shipped up, and then all of a sudden there's just this like doorway that opens, and I walk through it, and there's the Aries. So then I'm like walking up these steps, and I'm on like this like podium thing. I don't fucking understand this part. But I'm just telling you what this dream was. It was really intense. It literally felt like, and this was the same night right before the solar eclipse the next day. So this was the 16th. But it literally felt like a choice point, a destiny point. I don't know how to explain it, but it was playing out in a dream. The most vivid, real ass dream I've ever had. So then I was asking what the heck was going on, because all of a sudden there was this molten liquid, you know, like melted metallic liquid. I don't know, but it was poured over the top of my head, and it basically was like armoring or sealing like my energetic body. And in this energetic body, I have like these 6 pair of wings, 2 on the top, 2 in the middle, 2 on the bottom. But it also, the wings that I've seen represents like the hemispheres of my brain. I don't know how to explain this, but the wings have been there my whole life. I even ripped them off when I was going into the dark era, and I finally put them back on the other day in one of my gamma meditations. I just decided to take my wings back. I don't know why. But anyways, this molten liquid was poured over my head, and it literally revealed my wings, and then it coated them in like this golden metallic liquid. And then there was these, I don't even know who these people were, and then they placed these Aries horns on my head, and then all I heard was crowned by Aries. So then after that, I'm like, what the heck? And I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to figure this out. I'm just going to let this go, let the symbols keep rolling on, because I'm like lucid in this dream. So then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, everything gets erased, and then there's this old man, which I know is Saturn. And he shows up in this blink room. Like all of the crazy like parade and the being crowned and all of it goes away. Then it's just me standing alone in a room, and there's this old man walking up to me, and on the table is a clock. And this still shakes me. I still don't understand really what the fuck happened, but I did pass. I got tested by Saturn. This was nuts. Literally the night before this solar eclipse that had Saturn Neptune conjunction and all of this stuff, but plasma showed up in this dream, which this dream is like imprinted like on my soul. Like I've never had this experience before. So this old man that sort of looks like the architect from the Matrix, but he has like, he doesn't have white hair, he has like gray hair and like glasses, distinguished. He has like a suit on. He had like a waistcoat that had a watch hanging off of it. And all of a sudden the whole room's blank except for there's a table. And then on the table right in front of me is a clock, just like a normal clock. And he looks at me and he's like, "Can you help me fix time?" And at first I was like, "Can I help you fix time? I mean, I guess I could." And I'm like thinking in my head, and I'm like, wait, time doesn't exist. Time's an illusion. Like this clock is an illusion. this is a representation in my brain, this is what's going on, of the matrix, of this simulated fake reality, right? So, and this old man can hear my thought process. It was like out loud. It's like my thoughts were out loud, even though they're in my head. But he freaking knew, and he just gets this smirk on his face. And all of a sudden, this, like Thor's hammer, it's a dream, right? Stick with me. Comes out of nowhere, and I grab it, and I smash this clock. And I'm like, time doesn't exist. Real time is like water. It's fluid, it's alive, it's moving, it's its own thing. I was like, this fake construction that I just smashed, that's not time, that's fake. And he smirks and he's like, you passed. And he starts to walk away from me, and I'm like standing there in this room with this smashed clock, and I'm like, yeah, time is like water. And then as soon as I'm saying that, plasma was in there somewhere, and I barely remember. Oh, water's connection to plasma. And so as this is all, because then I thought right before, like, I'm like, wait, why is he walking away? And I'm like, wait, this was a test, right? And then I'm like, did I pass? I'm thinking this, and he can hear my fucking thoughts, and this is Saturn, right? I don't know why. I just knew this was Saturn. And he's like shuffling away, and the room's disappearing, and everything's going away, and he's like, yeah, you passed. Like, he knew that I was no longer I wasn't in the illusion. And this was the strangest thing. So then as I'm thinking about water, I'm getting pulled towards Neptune, and then I realize they say Neptune's the illusion, but Saturn is the illusion. Okay, Neptune is actually like the way reality really is, like how time moves is Neptunian. It's water, and water's connection to plasma. And then I wake up right as I made the water plasma connection, and time being like water. And that was the most intense dream I have ever had. That is the only time I've ever had a life review, which, bro, we were like in Egypt. It was like the scene out of the American Gods, when Anubis takes you to Egypt, and you have your certain doorways, unless your life was pointless or whatever. It was crazy. And I even asked this person in this dream with the scales, I was like, Ma'at, Anubis, what are you? And then I realized it was me. I was them. They were me. I was the one judging myself. Oh my God. Did I have a near-death experience in my sleep? It felt like it. It fucking felt like it, because then I woke up the next day and I haven't been the same. All of a sudden, whatever test I passed, whatever doorway I walked through, I just feel like my slate got wiped clean, and plasma is the only thing that's left. And plasma is the root to this emerging psionics, UFO, UAP, water, soul, field. Like, this is the string. Like, if we can pull on this plasma string, we might be able to pull down a curtain here. Yeah, so sorry for the video being so long. It was a huge rant. I have done a lot of reviewing. And just looking back at like the divine hand of my choices in my life. And the reason it sticks out to me is I'm someone that always is untrusting and afraid and scared because I grew up in like pure fear. So to see this overarching protection and like invisible hand behind my choices, and then all the way up the ladder to would I even have made those choices if I had a different outcome, I don't know. But all I know is that leading up to this is that I did cry again for the babies and the children of the world. And I did send out like a divine SOS. This is too big for humans to handle. This particular thing. But then after that, my sleeping still sucked. I was waking up at 3 o'clock. I was having anxiety. I was seeing these big plasmoid freaking sheets and shapes. They either show up as a square or they show up as like, yeah, more like a cube, like, or they show up as tall, like sheets. I can't tell if they're curved because it's dim, it's not very bright in the room, which once again, how the heck? But yeah. And like the plasmoids, I've caught like pictures of them. They're all these different colors. They shift back and forth from colors, and they look like a rotating cube type thing. Or like the plasmoids on the ground, you can see there's like a center to this thing. Or the ones that like shot across my legs, how it turned into a face. I was thinking back, and it could be like my grandmother-in-law. She did have a very wide square face, and I may have mistaken that male face for maybe that was her plasma face, maybe that was her. And then how it was like these letters and numbers and it shifted to the face, and how these plasmoids seem to shift. I don't know. And do I think they're good? Do I think they're bad? Absolutely, I don't know. Nope, I don't know. I don't care about that. I am not going to. It doesn't matter if I make any biased conclusions, because it always gets wiped clean and set back at 0 point on my new path that I'm being pointed towards. And do I have any idea why? Heck no, I have no idea why. I just know I have a connection with these things. These things show up around me. These things freak me out. Like these things have been there at the moment they showed up in my life, really, that I can really remember prominently seeing them, was that court case. It was about 10, 13 years ago. 14, 10, 12, yeah, anywhere from 10 to 13 years ago. And then slowly but surely, and even when my tall alien looking white beings, when they started working with me, my 5, right? Remember the 5? Talked about them a bunch. They first came to me in plasma form. They were just blazing sheets of like divine fire. And when I met them, I was in my plasma form, which was like outside my body. And then they shifted and slowly became more and more corporeal, more and more physical as my interactions. But they first came to me as plasma. Remember, they said they were plasma. They were from the 8th dimension. Plasma beings. They can choose to take a shape or they don't have to. Now, I'm sticking that away. Like, that's been one of the files that I'm just filing away, because I will say that when I was going through my experiences and experiments and everything, even with like the strange bruises and the marks and I did feel like they were positive, but then I came to a place after I had my breakdown about humanity where I decided that I didn't know enough, even if my experiences felt positive, to be 100% sure. So I was just gonna let go of all my biases, and I basically shut down. I was like pissed at the universe. I'm like, I got two things revealed to me. This is real. There are many things outside of what we can physically sense, and there are so many hands in a cookie jar, and this whole UFO UAP thing is freaking real, and the plasma is a big part of this type subject topic, and we don't know 100% on anything, their motives, why they haven't intervened. This is why I got mad at them, because they have the capabilities. Because understanding that intervening in the topic that I cry about every once in a while, only someone that is outside of time and space can help us with this one. No government, no police, no military, nothing's gonna be able to touch this shit and kill it, end it. It's gonna have to be something that operates on a different level of reality to slay this beast that I cry about, which is saving the babies and the children. And yeah, I'm not getting into that rant. I'm not going down. We all know that the power structure around that is fucking outside of human control, and it really is. And it needs divine intervention, or else it's never gonna stop. And that's really what led me to like, okay, I'm done. So having this really powerful spiritual dream about the planets and the vividness and like the door closing, literally getting tested by Saturn, walking through it, and like never have I ever had a dream like this. And the fact that I basically was like, no, I'm not participating. I'm just gonna stay thankful for everything in my life, stay positive, keep creating awesome, and keep my babies and my family as safe as I possibly can. And I can't, it's out of my hands. I literally had to give it to the stars, give it to the divine presence, the divine field, whatever it is. I'm like, and then I had to wrap up all my experiences I've had and go, okay, this is real. This is not just symbols in my brain, right? This whole other reality exists in connection with ours, that we know of. Like another layer of reality that's getting more and more and more visible. It's real, it exists. So then I had to get mad about, well, if they're real and they exist, why the have they let this go on? And then I'm like, can I trust you if you're letting this go on? So then I was like, you know what? I'm doing my one last cry. My 3 wishes were not selfish, were for this reason. Calling out frequencies, throwing out to this divine presence to come help us fix this, because it's out of our hands at this point. It's too big, it's too embedded, it's too dark. Whatever. And then I just shut everything down. I was just like shutting it all down. I was like, nope, I'm not communicating, I'm not talking. And then for weeks, I've just had, seems like every single time, one thing or another, some sort of plasma shape, just multiple, 1, 2, 6, just keep popping into my room. And I'm like, what the fuck? No. And then the last conversation before that was with this Nicaea or Nice, this Nice intelligence, plasma intelligence, that I believe it's Robert, he talks about in his book, The Science of Heaven. So this was a big, long vent. Big, long vent. But yeah, basically, after that crazy dream, my slate got wiped clean. I am 0. I do not think they're bad. I do not think they're good. I am totally neutral. And I'm going to stay totally neutral. Because once this became real to me, I was like, then you have to ask new questions. And I feel like maybe more people are going to be hitting that point now. Like, if this becomes real to them, like, then they're going to start asking different questions. And then it's going to be really real. It's going to be like, okay, now we're done questioning if it exists or not. Now, like, the fantasy, Saturn and Neptune, now the fantasy and the illusion's peeling back and tag teaming reality, and reality showing up. But then it's like, how do you feel about that? Like, well, how does that make you feel? What do you start thinking? You have different thoughts and different feelings when it's real. So yeah, I'm plasma. I'm just going to continue to research plasma, and I will slowly but surely, because I'm connected to this thing, and it communicates, and I communicate when I want to. But I don't really want to communicate right now because I'm in that place of digesting the fact that this is real. These are not just symbols in my brain, as much as AI would like me to believe. That's a whole nother topic. But yeah. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed my rant. If you guys even watch all my videos, if you don't, this is just me brain dumping. I have all these powerful experiences. I have to brain dump them somewhere. I have to get them out, especially deep thoughts that I'm going through right now in this whole new, like, 0 point threshold type situation. And yeah, if you did get anything out of it, I'm glad. We'll see if we had any plasma show up. My gosh. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.